Kiddos. So I'm going to talk to you briefly about propane and gas leaks. So here at cabin three, you can see cabin three, was getting occasional gas smell, and so needed to find out what was going on. And the first place I suspected was, because it smelled like it was coming from there, was underneath the house. So I crawled around in there and I used this. So this is a bottle of just dishwashing detergent and water. Now, not very much dishwashing detergent, enough so it makes bubbles. And then what you do is you get to some suspicious place. I'll show you one, for example. Some suspicious place, like here, and you squirt it. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so you just take this soapy water and you squirt this, and what you're looking for are bubbles. Not these little tiny bubbles, that just comes from spraying it, but big bubbles. And so there's nothing really here. Okay, now let's go up here. Oh, look at that. Big bubbles. So we have a gas leak there. And so we need to fix that. So I suspect it has to do with this connector, as it seems to have a small crack in it, and the gas is coming out of there. So we need to replace that connector, which connects this line over there. So I'll show you how we do that. The first thing we need to do is turn off the gas to the house. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so here are the gas tanks, and there are two. Now, as you may recall, on these meters, if it's showing red, whatever one is pointing to is empty. So that means this one's empty, and we're currently drawing gas from this one. But you still need to shut them both off. So I'm going to shut this one off first, and then I'm going to shut this one off. Watch the mosquito. So you're just basically, you're just turning these valves until you can't turn them anymore. Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. Okay, so that's tight. That's tight. All right, gas is off. Okay, so now that we got the gas off, we need to take apart that junction, and we're gonna use a couple things to do that. So I've got these two big wrenches, which we'll use to separate things. And then we're going to need to cut the pipe with this to get the broken end off. And then we're going to need to use this, and combined with, if I can get him out, this guy. And I'm going to show you to the best that I can how this works, but unfortunately I don't have a stand for the phone, so I can't show you actually while I'm doing it. I'll kind of show you what I'm doing, and then I'll show you what happened afterwards. Okay, so we're back to the problem child, and I'm basically going to use one wrench here and the second wrench here, and then it's righty tighty, lefty loosey. So I'm going to loosen it by twisting this one down, and that's going to loosen this nut right there. It's going to loosen that nut. So I'm going to twist this nut down. It's going to loosen it while I'm holding this whole assembly here with the other wrench. Okay, now that I've got it started, I can just do it by hand. to some extent. We'll see if it comes all the way off. Okay. And you see this is hooked up on this nail. So I need to free that for a moment. Okay. Now the problem that we have is that I'm going to need to cut it off as close as I can to this. So it's going to shorten this pipe a little bit. Now there's a couple extra crimps in this, so I'm hoping it will be still long enough to reach. If it's not, I am probably going to have to get a whole nother section of pipe. So I'll be back in a moment. I can't really film cutting the actual pipe because it's up above my head, and obviously I can't hold the camera while I'm doing that. I'm just going to demonstrate what is going to happen up on that pipe, on this little section of pipe, which I need to cut anyway because this piece is the same size as the one that we need to replace, and it was the only spare I could find was on this piece of old scrap pipe. So what we're going to do is we need to cut the pipe, and I'm just going to cut it, pretty close here so that we can keep this piece in case we ever need it. And the way to cut it is we use this guy. So I'll see if I can do this with one hand to get it started. So basically we put this around the pipe. The goal of getting the pipe, see there are two wheels here, and you want to get the pipe sitting between those two wheels, and then this is the cutting blade up top. And what happens is you get that snug in there, you spin it around the pipe, and then you tighten this up, which forces the blade into the pipe. And you do sort of like once around, turn this, once around, turn this. I'll see if I can demonstrate that. Okay, so we take this and we're going to loosen this up till it fits over. And then we're going to tighten it up just till it's snug. Let me get a little further down here where it's not quite as bent. So there. So now the pipe cutter is on the pipe. We're going to take it a little bit tighter, and now I'm going to go around. So I'm just going to spin this around the pipe. And now I'm going to twist this a little tighter. Spin it around. Twist it. Spin around. Twist it. Spin around. And when I'm twisting it, I'm really just doing a small amount. It's like, I don't know, 20th of a turn, something like that, just till it gets snug again. Do it again. And what's happening, I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the camera, but there's a very thin line that's being etched into the pipe by the blade. Probably can't see that. Tighten it up, spin around, tighten, spin. It's a lot of fun, I'm telling you. It feels like it's getting close. It gets real easy when it gets close, and then boom. Okay, so there's the cut ends of the pipe. And now we can take this guy off, which is what we'll use to replace that piece. Okay, so I've just got this clamped in there with this wrench. I'm going to take this wrench, put it on this one, and then we're going to push them together. Oh, look at that. And that loosened this up. So I can just spin this off now, and hopefully I can get this pipe out. Sometimes it's not easy because it's bent. Well, I'll get it out, something. Okay, so I got those separated. And I want you to look at this. So you see what this looks like on the end of the pipe? So what this does is this was sitting like this. right on the end of this piece. And they're designed to have exactly the same angle. And then when you put this nut on it and tighten that down, it creates a seal, just like that. So what we're going to do is on that other piece, where I've got the bad one of these, we're going to need to cut that piece off so I can get the bad one off. And then I need to put a flange on it just like this. And to do that, we'll use this and this combined. And what happens is, I'm going to show you here because I don't know if I can show you up. I can show you up there, but so in this clamp, we've got a bunch of different sizes to hold different size pipes, and there they are. And so this pipe is actually a 3/8 inch, and so that goes. There's a hole here for 3/8, and so what you do is you put the pipe in to this little spot, and you extend it up just so it's, this is a bad one because it's bent, but just so it's a little above, and it should be square. So we're not going to use it on this pipe, but it just sticks just a little bit above the flat here. So it looks like that. See if I can make that easier. So it looks like that. And then what you do is you tighten these babies down, and I like to use a wrench to tighten them down. I'll really crank down on them so that pipe can't move. And then you take this guy, you put it over, and you seat the little point into the pipe. And you see how it's got these arms in the back, and you just start tightening that down, and eventually the arms go tight on the back of the clamp, like that, and then you tighten, and until that flange is made. There are a couple of little steps in there before you get to that point, which I need to point out. So one of the steps, hold on, let me loosen this up a little wider. One of the steps is, you can see when we cut this, it's got this kind of, it's got a piece of metal that's bent inside of it, and we need to clean that out. It's called the burr when you clean that out. So we take the point here, and we just kind of ream that out. Until it looks a lot cleaner. So I'm going to do that whole thing on that other pipe. So I've cut the piece off. I haven't cleaned the burr yet. But here's a really important thing to remember. Before you start to put the clamp on and crimp it to make that little flange, you have to put the nut on first. If you forget to put the nut on, then you're going to have to cut the pipe again, and then put the nut on, and then put the flange on. So it goes nut, slide that on, there you go, slide the nut on, then you clamp it and make the flange. And of course you must again clean the burr out of the end before you begin to make the flange. You can do that once you clamp it, you can do it now, it doesn't really matter, but you got to get the nut on first. Okay, so I got the nut on, and then I got the pipe in the flange. You see I've got a little bit of it sticking out there. I got the burr all cleaned off, and now I'm going to take that, which I have no idea what the name is, let's call it the pressy thing, and put it around the clamp and press a flange into the end of this copper pipe. Okay, so I've tightened the pressy thing down as absolutely tight as I can into the end of the pipe. I'm probably making you sick from all the angles. Are you sideways now? Or are you straight up? Anyway, because I think I've been straight up mostly. So it's pressed in as hard as I can. I tightened that as far as I could, and then I used a wrench to put around that and just tighten it as tight as I could to jam it in there to make the flange bend out as far as it can go. Okay, so here's our flange that we've made. And this slides down, sits right inside there. And then we're going to be able to screw that onto that. And then we're going to check for leaks. So I'm going to reattach this and then we'll check for leaks. Okay, so got that reattached. So now I'm going to turn the gas back on and then we'll come back and spray it again. Hopefully we'll have no bubbles. All right, gas is on. Moment of truth. Give it a thorough soaking. No bubbles. Yay. Okay, so after you do all that, you turn the gas back on. You got to go make sure you turn the appliances back on. So, because obviously, if you turn the gas off, your refrigerator's off, and the hot water heater is off. So you got to go back and make sure those are turned back on.